Hi there, I'm Johanna Lee, and today I wanted to talk about 3 ways to make your spreadsheet prettier before you deliver it to a client or maybe for your own personal enjoyment. One at my old job, what was said one time was an analogy that just really stuck with me. They were saying, hey, you could be doing great work, you could be using advanced Excel formulas, advanced pivot table techniques, even like maybe VBA, and come to conclusions that really are insightful and help a client out. But if you deliver it on a paper plate, they are going to question all of that detail. So the analogy that they gave is that, if you give an Excel spreadsheet that looks kind of not great and not formatted in any way, that is like serving up a filet mignon on a paper plate. And so, the steak might taste great, but it does feel weird that you're not serving it on washable dishware. So, the things that I want to kind of talk through today involve amplifying that Excel spreadsheet to really match what work went into creating that Excel spreadsheet. So this is a Excel spreadsheet that I got from a data generator. So I use Macaru, and so this is where that is coming from here. These are not, I don't think these are real email addresses. So just so you don't go emailing them and waste your time in that manner. So anyway, the first thing that I think is really easy to make a huge difference in the way that you view your spreadsheet is to remove grid lines. And when I first started my job, I saw spreadsheets that looked really nice, and I thought that what they were doing was they were taking the background and they were creating a white background. And so it kind of looks, a little bit better than starting at row 16 going down. But that's not actually what they were doing. Or when some people would do that and they would think the same thing that I was thinking, they would create these massive Excel spreadsheets. Because every time you create a new formula or a new formatting in Excel, what you're doing is you're increasing the data size. And so for anyone that is like me that has opened up an Excel spreadsheet and tried to edit it and it gives you this warning that says too many formatting, errors. I can't remember exactly the wording. If you know it, just like post it in the comments because it is so infuriating to figure out how you can decrease in size that Excel spreadsheet and like use it. So anyway, one of the main things and that I saw is that the spreadsheets that had that error message were doing things like this, where they were using white formatting instead of just removing the grid lines. So I'm going to turn this back to normal with no background. And what I'm going to do instead, and I'll do hotkeys, but it's in the View tab. And so HVG is the hotkey for this, and I use it so often. Every time I open an Excel spreadsheet, I remove the grid lines. So that's why I know this hotkey. It's not like a super common one. But as you can see here, it's just like a little bit easier to digest now because you don't have this background noise. For some people, they really do like the grids, like notebooks that have grid lines, and that is fine. If that is you, then keep the grid lines. But I think just from like a client relationship perspective, I noticed an uptick in liking the spreadsheets when there are no grid lines. So that is the first one. The second one is going to be your header row. So as you can see here, my header row looks exactly the same as the rows below, and I don't want that. I want it to kind of pop out to indicate like the data doesn't start until row 2. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to center the column headers. I'm going to bold the column headers, and then I'm also, what I've seen work really well is if you use a dark background. So I'm going to use purple here. And then the font color that I'm going to use is white. So anytime you can use white as the font color and then maybe like a black or a gray or a dark gray, it really makes the spreadsheet like pop and shows you the header is really separate and not a data piece of the rows below. So that's kind of the second thing, is really focus on the header and how to format that. The last thing I will say is that, whenever you think about the default option for things, so for example, you get a new computer and your default option might be Safari. If you have to download Chrome, what they've found in studies is that the people that download like the alternative internet version do better at work. And it's not necessarily because of the productivity of the internet, um, the default browser that you use. It's just that you're going that extra step. So you're not using the default. And so I would just encourage you, even though Arial is not a bad font at all, I would encourage you to pick your favorite font beyond the default and apply that to all of the spreadsheets you use. So for me, I'm obsessed with Georgia. I love that font. And so I'm going to change the font here to Georgia. And so as you can see here, it's just a little bit different, and it's my favorite font, so I'm biased. But I would definitely encourage you to kind of think about that when you go into things like this, where it's like, I went above and beyond because I just did even one step more, and it made a difference. So those are kind of the main three things that I think will make a big difference. Now that I'm looking at this, I have a bonus tip. So a lot of data that comes from either data generated things or, a new spreadsheet. So if I click, Control N to get a new spreadsheet, it'll be sheet 1. So I think the last, bonus tip I'll say for this is you want to change the tab name. So I think I have a video on this. It's the hotkey for it is OHR to rename the tab. But you can just double click on the tab to change it, or you can right click rename. Lots of ways to change a tab. But just going above and beyond here where you're saying, say emails, that shows that you had attention to detail in what you're providing. And so definitely kind of keep that in mind as you're creating spreadsheets, and especially if you're sharing them with others. I think, if you have a personal spreadsheet, it's totally up to you. If I get a spreadsheet that has Arial, I don't think that the person, didn't try at all. It's just something that really pops when you do see it. And so I really hope these are helpful. As you can see here, it really only took me like two minutes to do these things, and it really puts that filet mignon on a nice looking plate. So I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments. All right, thanks, bye.